WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
And good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. My name's John Paul, the Car Doctor, here to help you with your car problems this morning. And we don't have a guest, but we do have a guest. We have Paul Pisa. He's guesting.
I'm in the house. Yep.
Yeah, guesting in the captain's chair.
And thanks for having me again today.
Of course. For people that don't remember you from last year, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm Paul, and I had the privilege of interning at WATD last spring and summer. I got to spend some time with John Paul. Got to meet him once at an awesome fair. We even played that cool game that was sent in, that cool box game, the racing one. Yeah. And you also got a scholarship, right? I did, yes. The Mass Broadcasters Association scholarship. I was very proud to receive that. And it made a big difference in my education as I'm moving to change my careers, get into broadcasting as we are here right now.
Sounds perfect. Well, you keep an eye on the phones, and for people who want to call in, the phone number is 781-837-4900. And, Paul, when we get phone calls, feel free to pop on and let me know, or you can send me messages, whatever is easier for you.
All righty, we'll do.
Remember, you're in charge. I'm just kind of sitting here. So.
All righty.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about my week as it happened. And it's one of those weeks that I guess it's kind of a first world problem kind of thing, but it's been a weirdly frustrating week. Just everything I seem to have touched on a break. It was one of those things. And I did actually, for people who've been paying attention, I did actually buy a new car this week, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. But even trying to go get it, and there was some delays in getting it registered, because I actually wanted to register it in Florida because that's where it's going to spend most of its time. But I wanted to buy it here because I didn't want to wait and go to buy it in Florida, and we'll get into more of that as well. So, but even getting off Cape on Friday morning, and for people who maybe are new listening right now, I try to spend my time between a little tiny house here in Cape Cod and what I call the Tin Shack in Florida, an old mobile home, and kind of try to spend 6 months here and 6 months there kind of thing. But I was driving off Cape, and could have been worse, but a box truck apparently flipped over and caught on fire and completely shut down Route 6. Fortunately, and this is the good news, I guess, I read about it or saw it first thing in the morning, so I decided to take 6A up to the bridge to be able to get over the bridge. We actually had a 2009 Volkswagen Beetle convertible that I was going to sell outright or donate it to, and I kind of feel a little bad I didn't do it now. I was going to donate it to Social Votech, but I could have done that easier in the fall when they were open, kind of hard to do now. I don't have room to be able to let it sit. So I went on Carvana and Pedal. Thank you for the recommendations from our listeners on Pedal, and wanted to see what people would give me for it. A whopping $500, by the way. But on the other hand, 5 years ago, I only paid $1,000 for it, and the guy I bought it from said, just give me $500, and I'm like, it's got to be worth $1,000. And he was a friend of mine. So, and then we went to lunch. Then I found out it actually needed a little bit more work than I thought, but that was fine. My wife was in Florida. I was here. Fixed it up. Actually had the Votech do some work to it as well. Got some things done. Got it appearance-wise looking pretty good. Like a lot of Volkswagens, especially this one, because it spent all of its life until I had it in New Hampshire. It had some rust on the rocker panels, where a lot of Volkswagens do. Not structural, because it's more appearance-based. Those rockers are really soft. In fact, most of the time when people don't know, when they jack them up, they just bend right there. But in April, when my wife came up to visit her relatives for a while, she went and got the car. It was on a battery tender. Unplugged the battery tender, started it up. Her nephew was with her, put some air in the tires, and it was good to go. And we were driving it ever since. So the dealership gave us more than Carvana, which was $500. They gave us $650. I really would have liked to have got $1,000, but I didn't push it. I also didn't want to let it sit. I was looking online at other ones for sale, try to establish a price, because Kelley Blue Book and things like that, they can give you an idea, but their prices, it's a little hard to determine. So you look and see what's for sale. Well, I saw some most of them said things like, not a bad car. All of them need, at that age, 09 or so, they all need tops unless they've been replaced, because a convertible top in New England really only lasts 5, 6, 7 years, longer if it stays in garaged all the time. This one was garage, but it was old, and it was kind of ratty looking. It didn't leak, though. But over the couple of years we owned it, the rear window literally fell out of it. And that's very common. If you ever see say like an 05 to 2012 or so Volkswagen Beetle for sale, most of them have duct tape around the rear window. I actually tried gluing the rear window back in. It lasted one season, came apart because the roof shrinks and literally pulls the glass right out of it. Somebody said to me, well, you have full coverage on the car. Just break the window and they'll have to put a top in it, because you can't just replace the window. And I'm never going to do that. So the next thing I did was, I think I tried Gorilla Tape. Didn't work. Then when the window actually got loose, and it was at that point the top was leaking, I kind of held the glass up in place, and I think I used 2 tubes of silicone caulking around the glass and siliconed it right to the cloth roof. Never leaked afterwards. And even though the roof looked terrible, it never leaked. And driving, I was kind of remarking to my wife as we were driving up to get the new car, and we took 6A. So car handled well. It's quiet. It has 4 new tires on it last year or 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I guess now. But they only have probably a couple thousand miles on them at that. I'm like, this is still a pretty good car. It starts up, it runs. It did have a check engine light on, and it had a check engine light on because of what is called implausible transmission data. So, which typically means you need to put a transmission range selector switch in, the thing that tells the car what gear it's in. But Volkswagen uses a weird system. They use this range switch, plus on the shifter, they use a computer circuit board with a magnet. So when you put the car in gear, this magnet rolls across the top of the computer board and tells the computer, hey, it's in drive, and it agrees with what's going on with the switch on the transmission. So I took the transmission selector switch apart and found out, this was replaced in 2015. And you could tell someone had been in there, because nothing really fit quite back together the way it should. So I'm like, can this be bad? It's really not as old as the rest of the car. And all the computer codes pointed to a faulty range selector switch. Put the range selector switch in, cleared the code, went for a ride, it's fixed. Backed up, went forward a dozen times, boom, check engine light came back on, same issue. So I suspect, apparently that computer board must only last 5 or 6 years. Problem is, you have to buy it as a shifter assembly at over $600. I wasn't going to do that. I really went looking for one of those salvage yards where you can go in and get your own parts. There's one down in Rhode Island. They didn't have one. The only Volkswagen they had was a manual transmission. When I was in Florida, I'm like, hey, there's one in Venice maybe or somewhere. I'm like, maybe I'll go. Maybe that'll be a good day trip. Go up there, go get the part and bring it home with me just to make the light go out. But that was really the only issue. The check engine light was on. Car shifted well. Cruise control didn't work because the computer didn't know if the car was in drive or not. But considering the car's only been a couple thousand miles in 3 years, really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. So we traded it in, and again, on the outside, rusty rocker panels, shiny paint though. All the glass was in good shape, no cracks. Top was ugly. Put the top down, put the boot on it. It actually looks pretty presentable. Look at the interior. Good shape. I mean, it was clean. Carpets were in good shape. All the controls worked. Radio worked. AC worked. And what's amazing is you see these cars for sale for, say, $2,900. $3,500, and it'll say runs great, and you look and the car's running and the airbag light's on, or the car's running and the traction control lights on, or ABS lights on. So they're not perfect either, and they're looking for $2,500, $3,500. My wife just saw one this morning, similar color, in our old town of Abington, and it was $1,000, and she started to read it, and it said, car has a check engine light on, airbag lights on, low tire lights flashing, had a whole bunch of stuff. But the person said, well, it starts and stops. I've been driving it since August of last year. And they wanted $1,000 for it. Well, compared to the one we traded in, ours looked way better. So anyway, we ended up taking it up to Plymouth where we purchased a new car. But on the ride up there, I'm like, this is a good car. And I said to one of the sales managers, and I dealt with a variety of people. Bernard Anoon, maybe. He's one of the sales managers. Michael Doobie, another sales manager, and Edgar Monterosa, who's the general sales manager. So I kind of dealt with all three of them because I can't just sit still when I'm in a car dealership. I want to go wander around, go talk to those guys, see what's up. And I said to him, if you or, you got kids or one of the guys in the shop or somebody's looking for a summer car, it's a good, fun little summer car. Shifts good, runs good, gets good gas mileage, doesn't burn oil. It had 115 or 18,000 miles on it. So for the age, it was actually pretty low miles. And like I said, I think if it got driven a couple thousand miles in the last 3 or 4 years, it'd be a bit of a surprise. So what did we buy? Well, we bought a Hyundai Tucson. And as people who listen to the program know, I have a Hyundai Santa Fe Sport, which now the Santa Fe has grown bigger. In the past, there was a Santa Fe and then a Santa Fe Sport. The Santa Fe was a little bit bigger. Santa Fe Sport was a little smaller. I just bought the base model Santa Fe Sport when I bought it. I bought it from what was a Hyundai dealer in Rockland, like literally next to the AAA office. Got a pretty good deal on it, I thought, back when I bought it. It was because I don't buy any of the extras. In fact, I even tried to argue away. They had locking lug nuts, cargo mat in the back, and mud flaps as dealer installed options, and then it had floor mats, which was extra. I didn't even want those. I'm like, take those off, and they're like, well, you can't take them off, and they can't because they're actually not really put on by the dealer in a lot of cases. They're put on by the distributor, so they can't get rid of them. So I got what I thought was a pretty good deal back then. This car was about $7,000 more than the car I bought before, I guess. Couple things. I went into Mastria Hyundai is where I bought the car in Plymouth. And people said, why'd you go there? Have a Hyundai dealer right in Hyannis. And I'm like, well, I stopped into the Hyundai dealer in Hyannis, and they were okay, I guess. But I don't know. Something just didn't strike me as good and not that they were bad, I just wasn't as comfortable, I guess, when I went in. This Hyundai dealer, I stopped in on the way. I think I dropped my wife off somewhere, and I stopped in on the way going back to the Cape. I like the look of the dealership, and the Mastria name, for people who know it sounds familiar. I actually met one of the Mastria people at the Plymouth Festival that Paul talked about earlier today. They had a booth set up right near the WATD booth. Went over, talked to Jake, who was their internet manager. In fact, he was on the program a bunch of years ago. Not a bunch, a year ago, I guess. So I talked to him. Also, when I was involved with Bristol Plymouth Votech, a couple of the Mastria employees from their dealerships on Route 44, the Nissan dealer, the GMC dealer, they were on the same board with me, and I just liked that. The idea that they support vocational education made me happy. So I'm like, you know what? They work with their community. I'll try to work with them. So I went in, and I had a sort of predetermined price. Whether you use, any of the various buying services, I had a price through AAA. Wasn't an issue. They could do that. They had a deal. If you finance the car, you could get an additional $2,250 off. So I'm like, well, I'll finance the car, and to save $2,250. Of course, now it's a $3,000 incentive to finance the car. Going to work on that Monday morning with the finance people. I don't think there's anything you can do. I think, when you sign the paperwork, you sign the paperwork. That's all there is to it. But realistically, I didn't get the keys till Friday, and the new incentive was in place. So we'll see what happens. I didn't get the keys till Friday, which was essentially my fault, because I purchased the car on June 24th, but because of sending paperwork back and forth to Florida to get the Florida plate, it took that long. So we'll see. We'll see what they have to say about it. So the car, kind of all in with taxes and registration, was like $32,000. That's sales tax, which is a big chunk of that. People have asked me, why didn't you buy the next level up, the SEL? Why didn't you buy the hybrid? Good question. The SEL was a little bit more. I had a number in my head that I wanted to stay under. I kind of wanted to stay under $30,000 for the cost of the car. That was just a random number I had in my head. And the next level up, the SEL model, what was different about that over the standard SE? And this is just a 2.5 liter normally aspirated engine, no turbocharger, none of that stuff. Makes 78 horsepower or something, about the same as the Santa Fe Sport. And interestingly, it actually has more rear seat room, slightly less cargo room, sits on a slightly longer wheelbase, and size-wise, it's within an inch or so of the Santa Fe Sport. So, as an example for my wife to drive it, she's going to be fairly comfortable because it's going to feel about the same. It has different things in it, push-button start, which the other car didn't, things like that. So what's the difference between the SE and the SEL? The difference is not a lot. Interior is about the same. You do get a wireless charging pad for your phone. You maybe get a little snappier-looking display. Heated seats you get, and heated outside mirrors. Well, I don't really need heated seats. Heated outside mirrors, although that's handy on a cool day where the mirrors get all moist and condensation on them. You turn the heated mirrors on and they dry out. Do I really need that? Did I really want to spend another couple $1,000s for that? Not really. Neighbor of mine said, how come you didn't buy the hybrid like I did? I'm like, well, I want a spare tire. And the hybrid doesn't come with a spare. I said, I think maybe one can fit in there. But once you take out all the styrofoam and all that stuff that's under the deck area. But I wanted a spare tire. That was one of the things I really wanted. Maybe because I'm a AAA person and we like spare tires because we want to put a person's spare on and get them on the road rather than have to tow them to a tire store where they have to buy a tire or repair it or whatever the case is. So wanted a spare tire. Also, I tend to keep cars a long time. The Volkswagen that I did the return trip on is a 2015, so it's 11 years old. How long is the hybrid battery going to last in a hybrid Tucson? Well, it's guaranteed for 10 years. Is it going to last longer than that? Probably. I mean, my kind of unscientific testing says they typically last a few 100,000 miles, but time can also be a consideration as well. Maybe 12 years down the road, you have to put a battery in it, which could be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Who knows what battery is going to be in 10 years or so. So I wasn't 100% clear on that, whether I wanted to do that or not. Also, looking at what I paid versus the SE model hybrid, I had AI do a calculation. If I drive 10,000 miles a year, how long the difference would cost in the payback based on current gas prices and fuel economy variations between the two, 13 and a half years. So I'll take my chances, I guess. I'll pay a little bit more. But it isn't about mileage. The hybrid also is a little zippier. It's about 40 more horsepower. So it feels has a little bit more performance. It's funny, I was watching online reviews of the 2026 Hyundai Tucson SE, and people referred to it as somewhat underpowered. Yesterday, I was at a car show, and there was an Oldsmobile Cutlass W3025. And it was, had the Hirsch shifter. It was a beautiful car. It was absolutely stunning. I had never seen a W25 before, I don't think. W30, yes, that's the bigger engine one. This was the 350, made 175 horsepower. They bragged about it. It makes 175 horsepower. Few horsepower less than the Hyundai does. So it's okay, and it's it's a couple horsepower more than the Santa Fe Sport that we have now. So somebody referred to it as it's ideal for around town. You wouldn't want to take it on a long trip. Went to Florida and back in a couple times. It was pretty okay to me. So people want more horsepower, and that's fine. And we'll talk about more horsepower later too. So that was my trip. The overall experience, I would say, with Mastery Hyundai, about a B. People are very nice. There's no question. They've had some turnover in the past 2 weeks since I've been there. I went in and said, "Where's the salesperson?" "Oh, she doesn't work here anymore." "Where's the F&I manager?" "Oh, she doesn't work here anymore." I'm like, sheesh. And I asked, and they're very corporate. They just said, "Oh, we're heading in a new direction," whatever that means. So, but the sales managers, especially Mike Doobie, I had a weird question, and I probably should have known the answer to this. I opened up the hood like I do with anything, and I just want to make sure that everything's, whatever you can check, I want to double check. So is the coolant full? Is the windshield washer full? Belts look okay, even though they're brand new. When cars get delivered, they have something called pre-delivery inspections, PDIs, depending on how they're done. Sometimes they're done as soon as the car comes off the truck. Sometimes they're done before delivery. Depends on what the dealership's thoughts are on that. This, I assume, was probably done when it came off the truck. But I opened up the hood and, just checked everything. And it was okay. Everything was full. Oil was full. Everything was the way it was supposed to be. And the car had actually sat. The other reason I opened up the hood, the car appeared to have come in sometime in May. So it had been sitting for 2 months maybe. It had 20 miles on it, I guess, when maybe even less than that. The first time I road tested it, probably had a couple miles less than that. And I'm like, well, it's probably been sitting for a long time. Battery's probably, other than the drive back, probably never got recharged. Chances are they probably had to jump start it to get it going if it'd been sitting for a couple months. So I went and put my battery tender on it, just want to get the battery up to 100%. But when I opened up the hood, I'm like, there's no engine cover, no plastic engine cover. So I'm like, what's going on? Why is there no engine cover? That's weird. And so I called the dealership and said, hey, look, there's no engine cover. And when I look at the specs on the Hyundai website, it says all models with internal combustion engines come with an engine cover. I'm like, huh. So somebody took it off and didn't put it back on. Then I read a little bit more and said that certain levels of trim don't come with an engine cover. I'm like, huh. So then Mike Doobie, again, good guy, got back to me a little bit later in the day. It looks like, I'm guessing he talked to his rep, because it looked like he cut and pasted a response back to me from someone else, because it said something about on your lot. Like he said, why don't these cars come with that? And they said the car's on your lot. Apparently on the SE and the SEL models, to save a little bit of money and streamline production, they don't get the little plastic cover that goes on the front, which is where mice and stuff like to live. So there you go. So there's my car buying story. Why don't we take a break? When we come back, we'll talk about a car that's way different, and that's the Range Rover Sport. Not like a Hyundai Santa Fe Sport. Range Rover Sport. We'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. Our phone number is 781-837-4900. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at AAA.com/join. That's AAA.com/join.
If you've been waiting for a summer refresh, it's all about being at the right place at the right time. That place is Macy's. The time is one-day sale. You can't miss the deals I found, the best prices on the trends I want, the pieces that finish the look, the home essentials I keep meaning to get. They're all here, only during one-day sale. I'm not waiting any longer. I'm already at Macy's. Plus, Star Rewards members earn faster during Star Money Bonus Days, only at Macy's one-day sale today.
In a world parched for excitement, one drink will emerge. Twisted Tea, the refreshing thrill ride of flavor. Recreating its classic role as the hard iced tea that goes down smooth. Twisted Tea doesn't just taste like real iced tea, it's made with real brewed tea and a 5% kick of alcohol. Taste the adventure with Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
Red Sox Nation, join us for Red Sox Day on Wednesday, July 15th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Irving in Pembroke. Stop by and see the World Series trophy, meet Wally the Green Monster, and enter to win tickets to a Red Sox game at Fenway Park. There will also be fresh food samples and surprise giveaways, all while supplies last. It's all happening on Red Sox Day, July 15th at the Irving, 92 Washington Street in Pembroke.
Hey, this is Kylie Evans. Tune into Twilight Showcase Radio, hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James on 95.9 WATD and also at 95.9WATD.com. Search for Twilight Showcase on Facebook and visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
back to the Car Doctor program. If you'd like to join us, and if you're getting tired of me talking and you want to talk, you can give us a call at 781-837-4900. A vehicle that is not a Santa Fe Sport is the Range Rover Sport, and it's one of those vehicles that actually does a very good job of balancing luxury, performance, and capability. If you looked at the full-size Range Rover and thought it might be too big or too formal, or you're not going to, some Hollywood premiere, the Sport may be a better choice. It has the same premium feel and presence, but it comes wrapped in a package that feels a little bit more athletic, a little easier to maneuver in everyday driving. My next-door neighbor, she owns the acupuncture shop in Dennis, and she's a Jeep person. She loves Jeeps. She thinks they're great. And she's, I think in the few years I've known her, she's on her second, maybe third Jeep even. And her whole family seems to have Jeeps. Her mother has a Jeep, her sister has a Jeep. And she came over and she said, "Oh, can I take a look at it? Can I sit in it?" And I said, "Of course, yeah, you know." And she's like, "It's beautiful inside." And so for a Jeep person to kind of look at a Range Rover, she liked it a lot. The styling is classic Range Rover, clean lines, modern appearance, and the inside, although it's very has a lot of electronics, it's very minimalist looking. And that when she was looking at it, she goes, "There's nothing really here. It's all like Scandinavian, minimalist sort of architecture sort of thing." But it's just enough presence to let people know, I think, ooh, you're driving a Range Rover. So without being kind of overly flashy, I guess. So will it fit in if you're, in a fancy restaurant? Yeah. This morning it had to fit in at the local hardware store, because we'll talk about that later too. So I had to run to the hardware store this morning before the radio show. But inside, the Range Rover Sport delivers the kind of cabin you'd expect. I mean, it's beautiful inside. The materials are excellent. The leather even has this, very premium feel to it. The seats are really comfortable, sort of oversized feeling, fit and finish, typical Range Rover, great. Driving position is very good, and visibility is good as well. I mean, it's a big vehicle, so but it's not so big it feels uncomfortable to park and maneuver and things like that. Although I did find that even at 6 feet tall, but I'm probably shrinking as I get old, but at 6 feet tall, I did find I wanted to move the seat up a little bit, an inch or so, to get a better view over the hood. Just seemed better that way. Felt more comfortable to drive. The bad part is this kind of minimalistic approach is one of my biggest frustrations. Land Rover has gone all in, and Range Rover has gone all in on touchscreen controls. And I think they went too far. Nearly every function, now there is some controls on the steering wheel, which I don't love on any particular car, but everything is designed around the infotainment screen. And although it's generally pretty responsive and pretty quick, it's too distracting. And I just read a story this morning from Brian Reamer at MIT about looking up isn't paying attention. And he was talking, and it showed a picture of somebody with a phone in one hand and coffee in the other hand, and they're glancing up to look at the road. Yeah, that isn't paying attention. And whenever you take your eyes off the road, even for a couple seconds, you're not paying attention. So when you have to go over and touch a touch screen to get into the climate control or change the radio station or any of that sort of stuff, it's distracting. Put some knobs back in. That's one thing I will say about the new little car I bought. It has a knob for the radio volume and a knob to change stations, and push buttons for the controls, for the climate control system. And people would probably go, "Oh, it's kind of old-fashioned." I kind of like it. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. I don't know what it is. So, multiple taps to make menu changes, not that great. This is one of these vehicles that is both a luxury car and and I didn't do anything with it other than I live on a dirt road. But this would be a very capable off-road vehicle. But I think it will do. I think it will do good. I I kind of understand the desire for a clean, modern interior, but I don't know. Functionality, I think, should take some precedence over aesthetics. Just me. So did I, in the week or so I had the car, did I miss traditional controls? Yeah. My test vehicle was a 3-liter turbocharged inline plug-in hybrid powertrain, which is probably the sweet spot in the Range Rover lineup. The combination is got the smooth 6-cylinder electric motor, delivers good acceleration. There's no idle stop thing that shuts the car off because it is electric. It is an electric hybrid when, it's just going slow. The transition between electric and gasoline, you wouldn't even notice. Under ideal conditions, fully charged, it will go more than 50 miles on all-electric range, which is probably enough for like many daily commutes. When my next-door neighbor lives literally a couple miles away from her acupuncture acupuncture clinic. I don't know what the right word is, but she, I said, you can plug it in every night and never go to a gas station. Yeah, you probably could. It takes a long time to charge. It's a pretty big battery, I think, and it takes quite a while to recharge on 110 volts. Now, if you're only topping off every night, it's going to be fine, especially if you're only going 15 or 20 miles. But this is one of those plug-in hybrids that I think could really benefit from a level 2 charger that can charge a little bit faster. The level 1 cord it came with, the convenience cord, and I didn't use my own charger for this because I was lazy and the cord was right in the back of the car. Mine charges a little bit faster because it recognizes a 20 amp electrical circuit, so it pulls a little bit more electricity out of the house versus the normal one that kind of limits itself to 15 amps. So you get a couple more kilowatts charge with the one that I have, but I use theirs. I think I had it plugged in for most of the day, and it got only to about 80%. Again, the ability to fast charge is a significant advantage. And you can do level 3 if you want. But I think a level 2 home charger would be perfect for this. Out on the road, it's an impressive vehicle. Despite weighing 2 tons, it feels pretty agile and composed. Steering's precise. Body motions are well controlled. It's comfortable to drive. You're not, roads aren't great, but it feels quiet. It's refined. You want something more rugged looking. Yeah, you go get a Discovery or something. But it's got a very sophisticated 4-wheel drive system, air suspension, all-terrain management. It should be able to handle sand and snow, rocky roads, all kinds of stuff. Is anybody ever going to use it that way? I don't know. At over $90,000? Maybe. I don't know. Again, the biggest drawback's the cost. Not just because of the purchase price, but Range Rovers tend to have pretty long-term maintenance and repair costs. You factor in if you're somebody who only keeps a car a few years, not an issue. If you're somebody who keeps them a long time, maybe something to think about. But overall, the Range Rover Sport plug-in hybrid remains one of the most complete luxury SUVs on the market, I think. It's comfortable, it's quick, it's beautifully finished. If you like quality interiors, it looks really nice. Genuinely capable off-road if you want to do that. Enough electric range to make daily driving efficient. Again, my biggest complaint remains with the infotainment heavy interior and the near elimination of physical controls. The technology is impressive, but there are times I wish Land Rover had prioritized ease of use over the minimalistic design philosophy. Even with that frustration, if you're looking for a luxury SUV, they can do almost everything well, while offering, if you're somebody who wants to offer, if you want to be electric only, it can do it. So the Range Rover plug-in Sport, if you have Range Rover Sport plug-in hybrid, if you have the budget, take a look at it. So it's a solid car. Here's a funny story, though. And you may have seen this in the news. And I guess I didn't pay attention. There's something called flock cameras. Jesse, do you know? I mean, Paul, do you know what flock cameras are?
I've heard about these. I've heard about them.
Yeah, they kind of record your license plate, and it's like it's like they track everything everywhere. They've had them in Europe for a long time. Well, in California, someone stole a license plate off a Range Rover, and the license plate ends with DTM, which is, I believe, dealer transport manufacturer. And the beginning of the license plate was like 35. So it was like 35 DTM. And in the middle, in much smaller letters, it was like 07 or 05. So it's like 35, 07 DTM. Well, apparently, when the plate was stolen, it was recorded into the flock system as just 35 DTM, which is exactly the same plate that's on this car, by the way. Mine has, I think, 05 or 07, whatever. It's different than the one that was stolen. Well, out in New Jersey, an auto writer was driving a Range Rover, and he was with his wife, and he was returning some Amazon packages to the local Kohl's store, I think. And all of a sudden, he got surrounded by the police, and they go, "What's going on?" And they go, "Well, this car's been reported stolen, or the license plate's been reported stolen, or both." And he goes, "I don't know what you're talking about." Well, it's because the system didn't record the little numbers in the middle. It only recorded the 35 and the DTM. So I'm like, well, I hope they cleared that up while I'm driving this car.
Yeah, that's something they definitely need to figure out. Yeah. You don't need to go through that heart attack either.
No, not at all. So it was, I guess after, I guess the police said, license registration. And I've been stopped once in a press car, and it was at literally 3:30 in the morning out on like Route 84, I think it was Route 84 heading to Connecticut. I was going to New York for the New York Auto Show. And I will readily admit I was going above the speed limit. And I was the only one on the road. And all of a sudden I look ahead and I see this Mass State Trooper. And I go, I wonder how fast you have to go to bring him. He pulls out. So he pulls over, and I start pulling over as soon as I see him pull out. I don't even think he had time to turn his lights on. So I pull over, and he pulls over behind me, and he goes, "Do you know why I stopped you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was speeding." And he said, "Why were you speeding?" I'm like, "I don't know, because it's only you and me on the road, and I'm heading to New York for the auto show." And he goes, "License, registration." I'm like, "Well, here's my license. Registration might be a little tricky because this is a press car," and I tried to explain it to him, and he was good about it. And he just ran the plate, and everything was good. But, that does, it's like, well, the car's registered to the company who owns the car. It may or may not have an insurance certificate with it. So it gets kind of complicated if you get pulled over. So I can't imagine this guy in New Jersey, being surrounded by three, I don't know if it was sheriff's departments or a local police department in New Jersey, whatever it was, and trying to explain his way out of this. And fortunately, one of the police officers was a car person and understood there's press cars that, Car and Driver and Road and Track and Motor Trend, they all drive. And this guy, I think, worked for a publication called The Drive. So the time I've had this car, I'm like, hope they fix that flock camera system, or at least the reporting of it, so I didn't get pulled over. But there's my weird Range Rover story, and we'll just kind of go with that. Recalls this week: Kia recalled 462,869 Telluride SUVs from 2020 to 2024 model year because the front power seat motors can overheat and catch fire. Ouch. Because this was a fix that was done in 2024, but Kia urges owners to park outdoors and away from structures until a newly electronic fuse assembly is installed, starting in early July, I think. Honda recalled over, and this is where recalls are weird. Honda recalled over 325,000 Odyssey minivans from 18 to 26 to repair a front passenger seat weight sensor that can crack and short circuit, potentially causing an unintentional airbag deployment. Oh, that can't be good. And Ford's recalling hundreds of thousands of vehicles across multiple lines, including Mustangs, Mach-E's, F-150s, to address issues like failing windshield wiper, unexpected gear downshifts, and a software error that disables pedestrian warning sounds on the hybrid SUVs. So you ever hear a hybrid and it goes real slow and you hear it making this weird, Jetson sort of car noise? Well, that's required for people who are visually impaired, which they don't hear the car running because it's not. So there is a car that's going on sale from Fiat called the Topolino, and it's officially, I guess it's on sale now for under $15,000. Paul, do you know Italian at all?
Off the top of my head, no.
Okay. Well, Topolino, in my very poor Italian, and I don't know any Italian, but I know this because I know a bunch of nonsense, stands for Little Mouse. And the original Topolinos, they called them Little Mouse. This car is actually only 100 inches long. It only has 8 horsepower. It's electric. It can travel 46 miles on a charge, and it has a top speed of only 25 miles an hour. The Topolino isn't street legal yet, but I guess they're going to do some kind of conversion kit that's coming later this year that will classify it as a low-speed vehicle and allow it to be driven on public roads. You kind of wonder there's golf carts that have low-speed plates on them now. You wonder what they have to do to this to make it street legal.
So you mean there's golf carts on the road right now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they have windshield wipers and lights and horn and stuff, but they only go 25 miles an hour. They're designated low-speed electric vehicles, and they used to be called before they came up with that designation, they called them neighborhood cars, neighborhood electric vehicles, and there were some small electric cars. One was a GEM electric car, which was kind of another glorified golf cart, only it looked a little bit more rugged. Ford actually had some kind of city car at the time, low-speed electric vehicle car, only 25 miles an hour. That's what they were designed for. I have, years and years ago, somebody I knew, there was an electric vehicle pilot program, and I was pretty involved with the introduction of electric vehicles a bunch of years ago, and they put 2 of these GEM electric cars on the vineyard. And the person who was responsible for the cars said, hey, if you ever want to go road test one, I have 2 at the vineyard. And I said to my wife, you want to go to the vineyard one day? And she's like, why? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Go drive an electric car and we'll go have lunch. And we did. We took the boat over from Hyannis, went to the vineyard, found the guy who rents cars and bicycles, got my electric car, drove it around the island. It was sort of funny. We pulled up in front of some little store, and there was like a half a parking space. So this little GEM electric car, which was probably about the size of the Topolino, pulled right into this little spot. And when we did, there was a woman in, oddly, a Range Rover, and she said, that'd be great for here. And I said, would you buy one? And she was like, no, are you crazy? So anyway, before we take the next break, on the opposite side of the horsepower numbers of the Topolino, which only made 8 horsepower, Ram is making a comeback with high-performance vehicles. They have a new Ram high-performance truck coming out. It's a Ram 1500 performance lineup. And it makes 777 horsepower. So if you want 769 horsepower more than a Topolino, go buy a Ram truck. Why don't we take another break? You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. Our phone number, 781-837-4900. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at AAA.com/join. That's AAA.com/join.
If Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea was your best friend, it would be the kind of friend that starts an impromptu dance party in the supermarket aisle that turns into an all-day pool party rager at your place, and you don't even own a pool. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea turns any day into a legendary adventure. It's smooth and refreshing real iced tea with just the right kick of alcohol. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
If you've been waiting for a summer refresh, it's all about being at the right place at the right time. That place is Macy's. The time is one-day sale. You can't miss the deals I found. The best prices on the trends I want. The pieces that finish the look. The home essentials I keep meaning to get. They're all here, only during one-day sale. I'm not waiting any longer. I'm already at Macy's. Plus, Star Rewards members earn faster during Star Money Bonus Days. Only at Macy's one-day sale today.
Plan a getaway and enjoy a long weekend exploring Plymouth. Go outside and whale watch, hike, walk along the ocean, and dine outdoors. At night, enjoy live music, theater, art shows, and ice cream under the stars. Begin your Friday night at the corner of Court and North from 4 to 6 and listen to live music at Sea Plymouth's Fridays on Shirley Square. Then head into a weekend of relaxed fun. Plan your Plymouth getaway on the Sea Plymouth app, brought to you by visitma.com.
Hey there, folks. It's Quinn Kelly reminding you to tune in Sunday night at 5 for the South Shore's first voice in sports talk radio, The Sports Exchange. Unmatched coverage of local high school action, as well as a relatable voice on all things Boston Pro Sports. We've got you covered live at 5 every Sunday night. Have a question for our host, missed last week's show, or just want to share a great sports story? You can find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. But remember, mark your calendar, folks, and we'll see you Sunday night at 5 for The Sports Exchange on 95.9 WATD.
Honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. He's John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. A couple of the questions that came in this week. Is there a difference between getting an air filter and cabin filters from the dealer or an auto store? I guess I mean auto parts store. Do auto stores parts always fit perfectly? And is it necessary to get an upgraded filter that filters out more dust, pollen, debris, or will it affect performance, fuel economy, and the engine if the car isn't driven much? And if the car isn't driven much, is it time-based? Change it every year or only when it's noticeably dirty? Well, my answer to that is change it when it's dirty. Check it periodically if you can. But my experience is some aftermarket filters don't fit that well. I've seen some cause system issues due to poor fit. Filter doesn't fit in the housing correctly in the air filter housing, doesn't fit correctly in the cabin air filter housing. So factory filters are great if you can get them. I tend to use factory oil filters wherever I can, especially in the Hyundais, because Hyundais are very fussy about their drainback valves and their filters. So I hope they're real. I go on, Amazon or something and order like 3 or 4 oil filters. They come in boxes that say Hyundai on them. They look like they're real. They have little tags and stuff, but there's so much counterfeit stuff, it's hard to tell. When I go aftermarket, I usually use Wix. The parent company of Wix, they make a lot of the original equipment filters. I think they're the same company that make Purolator. I usually can find Wix a little bit easier. So Wix tends to... that's what I tend to use if I'm looking for an aftermarket, say, air filter or cabin filter. Unless you're trying to eliminate odors, I'd stay with a traditional cabin air filter. If you do have like a mold or mildew issue, then go with a carbon impregnated filter. That is right from, Audi to Lexus. Those cars that have had some mold and mildew issues, they actually have come out with a carbon impregnated filter for that reason. And when it's time to change the filter, look at it. When the filter gets dirty, get a new one. The idea that some recommendations are, well, you should get a new air filter every year, or you should get a new air filter every 3 years. Well, in 3 years, it could look brand new. In a year, it could look terrible if you live on a dusty road, you live where there's a lot of pollen and stuff like that. So, interesting note, mildew and stuff. The new Hyundai I bought has something called an afterblow. And that means that when you shut the car off, if it's hot and humid and the air conditioner's been on, the cooling fan, the interior fan, runs for 10 or 15 minutes to dry out the evaporator so it doesn't get moldy. I remember years ago doing something very similar to that, doing an update to a computer program for just that reason, to make it run longer. So there you go. The other thing is, let's see, what else? We had another pretty good question. I'm interested in buying a pre-owned 2023 Toyota 4Runner with 27,000 miles. It's being sold by a Toyota dealer. The brakes are original, the tires look new. The brand is Velocity, which I've never heard of. The asking price is $49,200. Looking online at Car Gurus and IC Cars, which is where I tend to go for most car pricing. 4Runners in that age and mileage, 45 to 49,000. So that suggests maybe there's a little room to negotiate. And like any used car, before purchasing, I'd have it checked by a third party. As far as the tires, they're a bargain brand tire. I'm sure the dealer put them on to say that they have brand new tires on the car. So there you go. Next week we kind of have an interesting program for next week. It has we'll be talking with somebody who I should have done this before. I'll be talking to Nick Menzies. He's CEO of something called Drivers Hub, and what they use is a computer program, an AI program that will that goes out. One of the problems with car buying programs, you put your name and address and email and all that stuff in, and next thing you know, 10 different car dealers are calling you up saying, "Oh, you're interested in buying a car? Can you come up today?" And well, this one, I guess it creates not fake. It creates email addresses, and then it lets the AI program do the negotiation. I don't know. We'll have to see how that works. Again, probably should have waited till next week to buy a car. Hey, that music means we need to go. And as always, wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you do see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. It saves lives. And Paul Pisa, thanks for a great job. I hope to talk to you soon.